Gamers, welcome back, Kanutty here. Today we're going to review the PC Steam version of Gauntlet. The game itself is a re-envisioning of the classic Atari NES game. The gameplay to Gauntlet is an arcade-style beat-em-up dungeon crawling game where the goal is to move room to room, vanquishing and clearing enemies and their portal while collecting gold, opening locked doors, and breaking secret walls along the way to reach the end and progressing to the next level via the end stage doorway. During the beginning of the game, players can choose from two types of control schematics. You can either choose a gamepad or a keyboard and mouse. Personally, I've played both of them. They're both equally great. Keep in mind, however, the keyboard and mouse does not have bindable keys yet, so hopefully in the future we'll see some reconfigurable keys that might be updated in the patch. But for now, the control schematics, the way they laid it out, perfectly fine, especially on the gamepad. It's really well done on that and adds a unique variety to each of the classes. In the beginning, players are able to choose from 4 levels of difficulties, each with their own progression. Depending on what is cleared, will be open for replay, or jumping into another's game will help with the progress. The modes for the game is easy, normal, hard, which is downright hard, and insane, which will definitely put the group skill to the test. There are procedurally generated content, but not much is emphasized on this. The layout of the map is changed a bit depending on the difficulty, and the amount of mobs and things that spawn are affected. So the game isn't a completely randomly generated game, some may think, which can be misleading to some. There are 4 characters to choose from in the game. The Warrior Thor, who can melee and slash at enemies, charging them, knocking them back, or spin slashing enemies, which gives them a moment of invincibility. Also the class that tends to die a lot because players can jump to the fray with them. The Valkyrie Thyra, which is the other melee class in the group, has the ability to shield wall and tank against hits, do a dashing strike, and shield throw. For the range class, the Archer Quester, who rolls around really quick, drops mines, uses focus shots, and sprays arrows as enemies, also known as the class that loves to steal your gold and spray arrows everywhere, sometimes destroying food and potions. And the Wizard, who is the highlight of the group, is the Jack of all trades class, has 3 different elements, which is ice, fire, and electric, and able to combine 2 different spells to create a variety of spells. A wizard can crowd control with ice spells, or perhaps fire spells to launch fire mortars at enemies and killing a group of enemies, electric spells to push enemies back and create static shields, or teleport dash around and fire. The mechanic to the wizard is very much like an easy combo version of Magicka. During the beginning of the game, players cannot choose the same role as the other, so depending on which role is filled, they'll have to choose a different role that's available. As the game starts, players will begin crawling through to room using teamwork. The amount of enemies spawning depends on the difficulty and the amount of players in the group that are playing, so the game adapts to that. There is no play and drop feature in the game, so if a player leaves the game, this means that in order to get another role filled, players will have to go back to the hub and exit the lobby and wait for the other person to join. Most of the gameplay revolves around clearing enemy portals that appear in each room, continuously spawning enemies. Players will have to destroy these portals to unlock the next room or acquire keys from enemies to do so. The keys can also be used to obtain more gold and healing roots in certain rooms. There are also cracked walls that players can use TNT barrels on to blow up and acquire food or potions inside. Potions are used for relic skills, chicken is used for healing, and gold is used to collect and rank up on the leaderboards, or to accumulate and buy relics and aesthetic gear. The amount everyone gets is shared, but whoever picks up the most gets rated on that for their performance. Be warned though that the only way to heal during a fight is to pick up chicken. Chicken and pot in the game is destructible, so if a player hits it, it will be destroyed, and the game calls the player out for that. The lives of players are shared through a coin system on the top right, which tells how many are available and used up. To acquire coins, players will have to build up a bar by destroying enemy portals in order to bring others back in case they drop and die. The game offers 3 varieties of levels players will go through, so that's about 4 stages each, 12 stages total. Each of the 3 levels themselves offer different textures for the levels, along with the enemies and events, such as one level where there's death chasing the player around, and if a player gets touched by death, they die in one hit. There's also a variety of mobs that you'll face in this game, from skeletons to shielded skeleton soldiers, exploding enemies that damages the party and their own unit, ghosts, and enemies that shoot projectiles such as arrows and spells, or just to name a few. There is also a boss for each of the levels beaten, so there's a total of 3 bosses. When you reach the end of the stage, each of them are very satisfying to fight against and beat because they present a challenge. They require a bit of teamwork and skill to fight against, especially in the harder difficulty. After completing a stage, the players will be presented with a screen that tells them how fast they completed the dungeon, how much gold they earned, and also what kind of masteries they progressed so far in. The masteries are earned from doing a variety of tasks such as killing X amount of monsters or collecting gold, etc. to earn these little perks that will help you on your quest and especially your character during the harder difficulty plays. After completing the stages and seeing all these screens, the players will warp back to the hub where they'll see a doorway progression open and continue on. At the same time, in this area alone, there's a lone NPC with the shop option. At the shop, there are a variety of relics players can choose from and spend gold on. At any given time, players can only bring 2 relic powers with them and switch out when they are back at the hub only. The relics themselves are upgradable twice, and they are all the same for all 4 classes, so everyone can use the same variety of relics available. There are also aesthetic gears players can put on. Nothing that affects the stats, but just more for looks. Gauntlet is a great and fun game to play with friends or strangers. The game does a great job re-envisioning Classic with its new take on the game, however, it doesn't really offer anything innovative to the game itself. This game doesn't offer randomized loots or looting of any kind as content besides gold. The map are a bit of a lackluster, and there isn't randomly generated maps to keep the game full of content constantly. And also there isn't any communication of any kind in the game, such as mic chat or text chatting. Hopefully in the future there will be content releases or a sequel to the game that will add more to the game to really help it shine than just being a fun game. You can say add more procedurally randomized content, more bosses and levels, more classes, more variety of relics, a stronger story with side quests thrown in perhaps. But other than that, Gauntlet is worth the play and was really a fun and enjoyable game. Anyways guys, that's my review of Gauntlet. I hope you guys enjoy this review. Please follow and subscribe, enjoy the game, and remember to game on.